Welcome to our deep dive into the Fellowship of the Ring. We're going on a journey through Tolkien's world,
Oh, it's gonna be great.
from the Shire to the Mines of Moria, exploring what makes this story so captivating.
And not just the story itself, but how Tolkien crafted this incredibly detailed world
Right.
and why this epic fantasy still resonates with readers even today.
Okay, so to start, we have this almost idyllic setting, the Shire. It feels peaceful, like a world untouched by all the larger conflicts brewing out there in Middle-earth.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you think, was Tolkien trying to say something about the simple life? Maybe contrasting it with all the adventures that await beyond the Shire's borders. What do you think?
It's fascinating, isn't it? Tolkien spends quite a bit of time describing the Shire's society and how they have hardly any formal government. Families mostly just take care of their own affairs. They value things like generosity and contentment moderation.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a blueprint for a sustainable, self-sufficient community.
I can see that. And it makes Bilbo's reluctance to leave even more understandable, even for an adventure. Though it seems that his legacy plays a role in how the Shire folk view Frodo.
Mm-hmm.
There are whispers about Bilbo's wealth and tales of strange visitors,
Yeah.
like Gandalf coming and going from Bag End.
Indeed. Remember the gaffer calling Bag End a queer place with even queerer folk? It's almost as if Bilbo's adventures have made him and Frodo
Yeah.
stand apart from the rest of the Shire.
It definitely creates a sense of mystery.
Let's go.
And that mystery just deepens with Gandalf. He seems to pop in and out of the Shire, sometimes disappearing for years.
Yeah.
You get the feeling there's something more to him, a purpose beyond just being a friend of the hobbits.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tolkien uses Gandalf's presence to foreshadow the larger events to come. It's like he's pulling the strings from behind the scenes, guiding Frodo towards his destiny.
Which takes a dramatic turn when Gandalf reveals the truth about Bilbo's ring. That scene where he describes the fiery elvish script, the language of Mordor,
Yeah.
that he refuses to utter, it sends chills down your spine.
And then the bombshell, the One Ring. Capable of unimaginable power, suddenly this seemingly harmless trinket becomes the center of this epic struggle between good and evil.
It's mind-blowing. And the ring's history, with tales of elves and dwarves and men succumbing to its power, becoming the terrifying ring wraiths, it really adds to the gravity of the situation.
What's striking is how Tolkien uses the ring's history to illustrate the corrupting nature of power. The ring wraiths, once proud men,
Right.
now mere shadows enslaved to Sauron's will. It's a cautionary tale reminding us that even the best intentions can be twisted by the lure of power.
Okay, so we've got this epic backstory, this looming threat. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about heroism. It's a theme that emerges right from the start, wouldn't you say? I mean, think about Sam's reaction when Frodo mentions visiting the elves. He's terrified, but also ecstatic. That speaks volumes about his loyalty and his courage.
It certainly does. And it makes you wonder what truly makes a hero. Is it grand acts of bravery, or is it the quiet, unwavering loyalty that Sam displays? It's a question Tolkien seems to be exploring throughout the story.
Good point. And then there's Frodo facing this daunting task, leaving the Shire with just a few companions.
Right.
That in itself feels heroic, wouldn't you say?
Leaving the Shire is a huge step for Frodo, especially for a hobbit who values comfort and familiarity.
Right.
He's leaving behind everything he knows and loves to face an uncertain future. That takes immense courage.
And it's not just courage, is it? He's driven by this sense of responsibility, this understanding that he has to do this even though it terrifies him.
Exactly. It's not about glory or power for Frodo. It's about duty. It's about protecting the Shire and Middle-earth from the darkness that threatens to consume it.
Which brings us to those menacing Black Riders. The way Tolkien describes their relentless pursuit of the ring, their confrontations with characters like Farmer Maggot,
Yeah.
it creates this incredible sense of dread and danger. You get the feeling that nowhere is truly safe.
It's a brilliant use of suspense, keeping the reader, or in this case the listener, on the edge of their seat. And it highlights the real danger Frodo and his friends are in. This isn't just a lighthearted adventure anymore. It's a fight for survival.
Right. But luckily, they do find allies along the way. There's Gildor and his company of elves offering guidance and warnings about the growing danger. And then there's that memorable scene at the Prancing Pony in Bree.
Ah, the Prancing Pony, a melting pot of different races and characters. It's where they meet Strider, a mysterious ranger who seems to know more than he lets on. Remember his warning about not trusting everyone in Bree? That swarthy, sneering fellow, Bill Ferny, immediately comes to mind.
Talk about shady characters.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole mystery surrounding Gandalf's delayed letter. Poor Mr. Butterbur, so forgetful. It's almost comical, but also highlights the everyday concerns of ordinary folk, even amidst these epic events.
It's a nice touch reminding us that life goes on even when the fate of the world hangs in the balance. And speaking of life going on, the hobbits themselves bring a lot of humor to the journey, don't they? Pippin's account of the roof collapse in Michelle Delving is hilarious.
It certainly is. And I think that lightheartedness is important, would you say? It emphasizes the contrast between the hobbits' simple lives and the grave dangers they face. It's a reminder of what they're fighting to protect.
Absolutely. And it makes their journey even more impactful knowing what they stand to lose if they fail.
So they continue on, led by Strider, who turns out to be, wait for it, Aragorn, a descendant of kings. Talk about a plot twist.
Aragorn's lineage is a key element of the story, don't you think? It foreshadows his destiny and adds another layer to the themes of courage and leadership. Remember the song Sam recites about the Lost King? It subtly hints at Aragorn's true identity and his potential role in the fight against Sauron.
It's amazing how Tolkien weaves those subtle clues throughout the story. And as they journey, the peril increases. They have that narrow escape from the Barrow-wights, and then they're attacked on Weathertop, where Frodo is wounded by the Witch King.
These encounters show the growing danger as they move further from the Shire. The attack on Weathertop is especially significant, revealing the ring's growing power and its impact on Frodo. He starts to feel its pull, the desire to put it on. It's a chilling reminder of the stakes involved.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And then unexpectedly, they find refuge in the house of Tom Bombadil. Talk about a breath of fresh air.
Tom Bombadil is such an intriguing character, almost a riddle wrapped in a song. He seems completely untouched by the ring's power, living in his own little world with goldberries singing and delighting in nature. It's almost as if he represents a force beyond the reach of good and evil.
I get that. He even saves them from Old Man Willow and helps them escape the Barrow-wights. It's like he's a force of nature himself.
Precisely. He embodies a kind of wild, primal power, completely separate from the conflict between Sauron and the Free Peoples. His presence offers a moment of respite and wonder in the midst of all the danger. It's a nice reminder that there are still pockets of peace and beauty in Middle-earth.
And that makes their eventual return to Bree and the trouble they find there all the more jarring.
You're right. Bill Ferny pops up again, spitting at them and hurling insults. It foreshadows his later betrayal and highlights how even seemingly insignificant people can be corrupted by Sauron's influence. It's like a warning that evil can lurk in unexpected places.
A chilling thought for sure. But thankfully, they leave Bree behind and venture into the wild lands beyond. It feels like the real journey is just beginning, and I'm curious to see how their reliance on Strider or Aragorn grows as they face new challenges.
Me too. His skills as a ranger, his knowledge of the land, his emerging leadership, it all becomes so crucial to their survival. Remember how he guides them through the wilderness, protecting them and inspiring them to keep going?
Absolutely. He's becoming the hero he was destined to be. And then he reveals his lineage to them, his connection to the ancient kings, his claim to the throne of Gondor. What a moment.
It's powerful, especially when he recites the lines about the crownless again shall be king. It's like a beacon of hope, a promise that even in the darkest of times, there's always a possibility of renewal and restoration.
It's inspiring for sure. But we can't forget about the hobbits. They may be small, but they're showing remarkable resilience. I mean, think about their journey through the Midgewater Marshes. That place is eerie and desolate.
It is, and it forces the hobbits, especially Frodo, to dig deep and find a strength they didn't know they had. They face their fears head on, endure hardship, and never give up hope.
Right. And just when you think things can't get any worse, they're attacked again by the Black Riders on Weathertop.
And this time they're revealed as the Nazgul, the Ringwraiths. It's a terrifying encounter, and Frodo is wounded with a Morgul blade, a cursed weapon that threatens to pull him into the Wraith world. Suddenly, their quest takes on a whole new level of urgency. They need to get to Rivendell fast.
It's their only hope. But the journey is treacherous. Remember that encounter with the trolls and the Trollshaws?
Oh, that scene. Tolkien masterfully blends terror and humor, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, there can be moments of absurdity.
It's classic Tolkien. And then just as they think they might make it, they realize Gandalf is missing. He was supposed to meet them at the Trolls' ruins, but he's nowhere to be found.
Gandalf's absence casts a long shadow over everything. It creates this sense of unease, of uncertainty. Where has he gone? What has happened to him? These questions hang over the company as they continue their journey, adding to the growing sense of foreboding.
It's a real cliffhanger. And it makes you wonder, how will they ever reach Rivendell without Gandalf's guidance?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's a question we'll explore further as we continue our deep dive into the Fellowship of the Ring. It's remarkable how, even without Gandalf, the hobbits and their companions, they press on towards Rivendell. It speaks to their growing courage and determination, doesn't it? They're facing the unknown, relying on each other more than ever.
It really highlights the strength they find in their companionship, but they're not out of the woods yet, so to speak. The encounter with the Barrow Wights is one of the creepiest scenes in the book. It's like Tolkien is tapping into our primal fears of darkness and confinement.
Absolutely. Those ancient evil spirits trapping the hobbits in their tomb, threatening to bury them alive. It's a test of their resilience, and they barely escape. You almost wonder if they can even recover from such a terrifying experience.
And just when things seem bleakest, Gandalf returns. It's such a relief, like the weight of the world has been lifted.
Yeah.
But his explanation about Saruman and the growing threat of Sauron throws a whole new level of seriousness on the situation.
Gandalf's return is crucial, not just for the characters, but for the narrative itself. It sets the stage for the Council of Elrond, which is really where the true scope of the story unfolds. We go from this personal quest to save the Shire to a fight for the fate of all Middle-earth.
You're right, it's a huge shift in perspective, and the council itself is fascinating, isn't it?
Right.
All these different races, elves, dwarves, men, coming together to decide the fate of the ring. You can feel the tension, the weight of their decision.
It's like Tolkien is creating a microcosm of the world, showing us the different perspectives and motivations at play. And in the midst of it all, you have Frodo, this seemingly ordinary hobbit stepping forward and volunteering to take the ring to Mordor. Talk about a turning point.
You know, that moment always gets me, Frodo's decision to bear the burden of the ring. It's such a powerful example of selflessness. It makes you think about what sacrifices we'd be willing to make for the greater good.
Exactly. It's not a choice born out of ambition or a desire for glory. It's a recognition that he is the only one who can do this, and a willingness to sacrifice his own comfort and safety for the sake of others. That's true heroism.
And from that decision, the Fellowship is born. This diverse group of companions all dedicated to protecting Frodo and helping him fulfill his mission. Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Boromir, and of course the hobbits. What a mix.
The Fellowship embodies this idea of unity and cooperation, something that seems particularly relevant in today's world. They're all different. They come from different backgrounds, they have different skills and strengths, but they're united by a common purpose.
I love that. It reminds me of the saying, strength and diversity.
Hmm.
But their journey is far from easy, isn't it? Their attempt to cross the misty mountains through the Redhorn Pass is a real nail-biter.
Oh, that scene. Karadra's the cruel mountain really throws everything it can at them. Snowstorms, treacherous conditions. It's almost like nature itself is testing their resolve, pushing them to their limits.
They certainly don't give up easily, but they are forced to turn back. And the alternative route they choose through the mines of Moria, well, let's just say it's not for the faint of heart.
The mines of Moria are like a descent into the abyss. These vast, echoing halls, filled with the remnants of a lost civilization, now overrun by orcs and other creatures. Tolkien's descriptions are so vivid, you can practically feel the darkness closing in around you.
And then, of course, there's the Balrog, a creature of fire and shadow, a demon of the ancient world. You can't help but feel a sense of awe and terror when it appears.
The Balrog is such a powerful symbol. It represents this primal force of chaos and destruction, something that threatens to consume everything in its path. And the battle between Gandalf and the Balrog, it's one of the most iconic scenes in literature, a clash of titans that leaves you breathless.
It's epic. And tragic Gandalf falls with the Balrog into the abyss, seemingly lost forever. That moment is like a punch to the gut, a loss that feels almost unbearable for both the Fellowship and the reader.
Gandalf's fall is a devastating blow, isn't it? He was their guide, their protector, their source of wisdom and hope. It's a moment of despair, but it also forces the Fellowship to confront their own mortality and the fragility of their hopes.
It's a turning point for sure. But even in their grief, they have to carry on. The quest must continue even without Gandalf.
Exactly. And they do, led by Aragorn, who steps into the role of leader of king in waiting. Their escape from the mines of Moria is a testament to their resilience, their ability to persevere even in the face of unimaginable loss. And then they find refuge in Lothlorien, the enchanted realm of the elves.
Lothlorien is such a stark contrast to the darkness of Moria. It's a place of light and life where nature and magic seem to be in perfect harmony. It's almost like stepping into a dream.
What's fascinating about Lothlorien is how Tolkien uses it to explore the idea of an idealized society. The elves are graceful, wise, in tune with nature. It's tempting to see it as a utopia, but There's also a sense of melancholy, a recognition that this beauty and peace are fleeting.
That's a good point. It makes you appreciate the moment even more, knowing that it can't last forever. And then there's Lady Galadriel. She's such a powerful and enigmatic figure.
She's a symbol of elven wisdom and grace, but there's also an air of mystery about her. Remember her test of the Fellowship offering each member a glimpse into their desires and fears?
That scene is so intense, and it reveals so much about each character, their inner struggles and motivations. And then Frodo offers her the ring.
It's a pivotal moment. It shows Frodo's purity of heart, his willingness to relinquish this incredibly powerful object for the greater good. But Galadriel, wise as she is, recognizes the danger and refuses to take it.
It's like she understands the true cost of power, the burden it would place on her. And instead she gives them gifts, doesn't she? Gifts to help them on their journey.
Yes. Lembos bread to sustain them, cloaks to protect them, and special gifts for each member tailored to their needs. It's like she's equipping them for the long and dangerous road ahead.
It's a poignant moment filled with both hope and foreboding. They've found refuge and guidance in Lothlorien, but their journey is far from over. They must leave the safety of the Elven realm and venture back into the unknown, facing their destiny.
And as they journey down the river Anduin, they know that danger lies ahead, drawing them ever closer to the heart of Sauron's domain. It's a turning point, a step into the unknown, and it makes you wonder what perils await them as they leave the haven of Lothlorien behind. It feels like as they journey down the river Anduin, like they're drifting further and further away from the safety and the beauty of Lothlorien. There's this sense of foreboding, like the river is carrying them towards their destiny, but it's a destiny shrouded in darkness.
Yeah, I get that feeling too. And the river itself, it almost becomes like a character, doesn't it? Guiding them, but also presenting its own set of challenges and dangers, like their passage to the Argonath, those massive imposing statues flanking the river.
Those statues are incredible. They represent the ancient kings of Gondor. It's a reminder of a time when men were united and powerful. But there's also a sense of warning, almost a challenge in their silent gaze. It's like they're asking the Fellowship, are you worthy to pass?
It's chilling, and it's
Yeah.
interesting how Boromir reacts to them.
Yeah.
He seems captivated by their power, and you start to see how the ring is working on him, tempting him with visions of restoring Gondor to its former glory.
And that's one of the things that makes Boromir such a tragic figure. He's not inherently evil. He's driven by a desire to protect his people.
Right.
But the ring preys on that desire, twisting it into something darker.
It's a reminder that even the best of intentions can be corrupted, that the line between good and evil can be blurry at times.
Yeah.
And that tension within the Fellowship, the distrust and unease, it just keeps building as they journey further down the river.
It's like the ring is driving a wedge between them, highlighting the different perspectives and motivations. The hobbits, with their simple rural values,
Yeah.
they're in stark contrast to Boromir, a warrior and a leader burdened by the weight of his responsibilities.
And then it happens, the orc attack. It shatters the Fellowship, scattering them and leaving Frodo and Sam to continue on alone. It's such a pivotal moment, a turning point in the story.
That attack marks a shift from a collective journey to a much more personal internal one, Frodo and Sam. They're stripped of their companions, their support system,
Right.
and they're forced to rely on their own strength and resilience.
And it's not just Frodo and Sam who face a choice. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, they choose to pursue the orcs who've captured Merry and Pippin.
Right.
And Boromir, his temptation leads him to betray Frodo.
Boromir's betrayal is heartbreaking, but it also reveals the complexities of his character. He struggles with the lure of the ring, with the desire to use its power for what he believes is good, but ultimately he succumbs to temptation.
It's a reminder that even heroes are flawed, capable of making mistakes. But even in the face of betrayal, Frodo's determination to destroy the ring, it never wavers. He understands the stakes, the danger it poses to everyone, and he chooses to carry on, even though it means facing the unknown alone.
Frodo's courage is inspiring, isn't it? He's not a warrior, not a king. He's an ordinary hobbit who finds extraordinary strength within himself. He embodies the idea that even the smallest person can make a difference.
And as we leave the Fellowship at this point, scattered and facing uncertain futures, we're left with a sense of both sadness and hope. Sadness for the loss of their unity, for the challenges they face, but also hope for their individual journeys and the possibility of redemption.
The Fellowship of the Ring. It's a story that speaks to something deep within us. It's about friendship, about courage, about the power of choice and the enduring strength of the human spirit. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there is always light, always hope, and always the possibility of triumph.
It's a story that stays with you long after you've finished reading it. And as we conclude our deep dive into the Fellowship of the Ring, we leave you with this question. If you were to receive a mysterious message from Gandalf, would you answer the call to adventure, or would you stay safe and comfortable in your own shire?